because the sheer number of people who got exposed and getting COVID, one of them myself, it was, of course, huge. And the type of strains that are coming in and, we're reading about them, it is quite scary. But the moment we hit the peak at the second wave, the chief minister really started planning for the third wave because A, the quantum of cases, B, the type of cases, and 3, the response from the state has to be, constantly updated. Now, in this, for the third wave preparation for our state, really, we are looking at 3 things. One is a medical response, the other is a corporate response, the third is a civic response. In the medical response, really, we're looking at, again, capacity augmentation of the beds, like you saw in the second wave as well. Because we hadn't shut down our jumbo centers and COVID care centers across the state, almost everyone who needed a bed got the bed at the right time and the bed they needed, like be it oxygenated beds or ICU beds. There was 1 or 2 days that we came on a thin edge with ICU beds, but within that week, we've increased the capacity of ICU beds and we have a buffer now, which is a good buffer. We cannot remain satisfied with that. We cannot remain happy with that. We're like, again, I can give you an example as the Guardian Minister of Mumbai and, me with my colleague, Mr. Aslam Sheikh, and the Mayor, Ms. Kishori Pednikar, the Municipal Commissioner, Mr. Chehal. All of us have been planning to increase our bed capacity at least by 7,000 for oxygenated beds for the third wave. So we would probably touch about 45 to 50,000 beds formally in hospitals and informally in COVID care centers and nursing homes. We're ramping up at least 2,000 more ICU beds and as many ventilator beds as we can. One of the demographies that has not been affected largely till now and hopefully should never be affected is the babies, the kids and the teenagers, the age groups between 0 to 16. And we're seeing cases now coming up for kids who are around 6 months old, 18 months old. So we're preparing for NICUs, pediatric care. We've also formed a task force of pediatric doctors looking at their response to COVID. So this would be one of the most important things for the third wave as a medical response. Of course, genomic testing, ramping up testing, asking more people to test, that is one. In terms of corporate response, all the corporates, especially I would particularly stress on the private-public partnership that has come forward in COVID response. All the corporates have largely helped us as the state of Maharashtra and across the country as well for various states and the country to give their corporate CSR or helping us with ventilators, with ambulances, with COVID care centers. So they've poured their hearts out and souls out to really support the state initiatives. But we're also working with them to see how we can better manage COVID in the corporate sector while they keep their manufacturing, export, import, corporate offices on and public offices on. So we're working with them for better COVID appropriate behavior and SOPs on their own campuses. And the third thing would be a civic response. Like we've started this whole new campaign about if you're wearing a cloth mask, you have to double mask yourself. If you're wearing an N95, a single mask is fine. Largely stay at home, but if you have to step out, how do you behave? Where do you go? What do you do? I think the corporate and medical response is something that can be managed. Civic response is something where we require larger civic discipline and adherence to norms that are COVID appropriate. So I think these are 3 things that we've started working on. Things like do schools open up, do colleges open up, mental health care is going to be a larger concern, anxiety is going to be a larger concern, with people being at home, lifestyle diseases are coming up. So these are some of the things that we're worried about and working on.
At this point in time, does it look like schools and colleges will possibly remain shut at least till the end of this year?
Unfortunately, it seems like it because, even though we might think of looking at, say, schools once a week or, changing the patterns, trimming down the syllabus, parents also less likely to send their kids to schools, even though they understand and realize that the kids staying at home are getting too isolated, that feeling of being in a school, stepping out to a playground, interacting with kids has, gone down to 0. But safety concerns exist and only on safety concerns can we move ahead.
One last question, Aaditya Thackeray, and this is about Dharavi model, which had received international acclaim during the first wave. Even during the second wave, it is quite evident that Dharavi has been in control. What is the secret of success in Dharavi? Because that was a major area of concern. It's Asia's largest slum.
So be it called the Dharavi model, be it called the Worli model, be it called Mumbai, Pune, Maharashtra model, the secret is just one thing: don't keep secrets. Try to share as much data as possible, try to analyze as much data as possible, trace as many cases. We've been telling all our officers, we've been telling all elected representatives, there is no glory in having lesser numbers by hiding them. You won't be able to restrict COVID by hiding the COVID cases. In fact, the more COVID cases you can identify, your number might sound higher on paper, but that is actually a success because you are identifying more people who have COVID infection, be it symptomatic or non-symptomatic, which is when you can trace the high-risk contact group, stop the spread at the second round of infection, get them quarantined, get them isolated if they test positive, help them reach a doctor faster, help them recover faster, and get home faster. I think that is the success. The secret is don't keep any secrets in COVID cases.
Aaditya Thackeray, thank you for your time. Thank you for speaking to CNN News 18.